Let's look at some core requirements for EDM and how the data model is fulfilling them. Learning from ESE, it was important for EDM to distinguish between the provided objects, the physical objects in the collection or library, and their digital representations. It was also important for EDM to add specializations and extensions, theme or domain-specific profiles that allow it to cover more specific aspects of the data. The third requirement, mentioned earlier, was the support for contextual resources, including concepts from controlled vocabularies to allow linking resources with each other and enriching the metadata. Delving into EDM, the first we come across are the EDM classes. Classes are a group of things that have common properties. Still sounds a bit abstract, but this gets better when we look at them more closely. In principle, many classes could be used in EDM, but we focused on 3 more core classes and 5 contextual classes. In order to allow for a distinction between the physical object and its digital representation, EDM works with 2 classes. For the physical object, we have the core class EDM provided CHO. For the digital representation, we have the core class EDM web resource. In order to associate these 2 related classes, we use the class or aggregation. With these 3 classes, we have covered the core classes that are most important to describe the resources published in Europeana. But with EDM, we want to go beyond the pure description of objects. We want to include contextual resources as well, but keep them separate from the object information. To give one example, while Charles Darwin as a text string would be in DC Creator in the class EDM provided CHO, having the URI for Charles Darwin in the metadata would allow us to link to an authority file to get additional information about Charles Darwin. This additional information would be in one of the contextual classes, in this case EDM Agent, where information about a person can be found. We use 4 more contextual classes: EDM Place, EDM Timespan, SCOS Concept, and CC License. As EDM classes are things that have common properties, we also need these properties to characterize the resources. We are using quite a number of properties, but only 10 of them are really mandatory. With just these 10 mandatory properties, we are able to publish your data to Europeana. For the OR aggregation class, we need to have information in 5 properties. EDM provider is saying us where the data come from, who is providing them to Europeana, while EDM data provider should tell us what institution is holding the collection. We need at least one working link that points to the digital object described in the metadata. Either a direct link to an image or PDF in EDM is shown by, or a link to a website or viewer giving access to the digital object in EDM is shown at. If we are working with user-contributed content, then this needs to be made explicit as well, using the property EDM UGC. Last but not least, for OR aggregation, we need to have a valid right statements of the object provided in EDM rights. Looking at EDM provided CHO, we mainly have 4 mandatory properties. We either need a title or a description to produce a valid record. Then we need to choose for EDM type out of a list of 5 values to inform if the object we are describing is an image, text, sound, video, or a 3D object. For text, we also need to have a value in DC language. In order to give at least some context, we need one of the following properties being filled: DC type, DC subject, DC term spatial, or DC coverage. Finally, every metadata record must have a unique and persistent identifier, provided as RDF about of the EDM provided CHO class and as EDM aggregated CHO. This identifier will be used to generate the permalink to the record on Europeana collections, as well as the Europeana identifier for both Europeana collections and API. Once you have described your resources using all these properties, you are ready to submit your data to Europeana. I have to admit that it may still sound a bit dry and theoretic at this stage. In the second unit of our course, we are going to show you with some examples how EDM looks like, both in XML and in a human-readable form when it is displayed in Europeana collections. We are also going to show you how we work with EDM internally to clean and enrich it for the final display in Europeana collections.